Are you having a little lull in your career? Maybe drug and alcohol problems got you down? Having trouble transitioning from those childhood roles to those adult roles? I can fix that. This week we are talking about the revival of Shia LaBeouf and his new movie, Honey Boy. So I know I sound like a broken record, but I love living in Los Angeles. I don't just like it for the weather, although it is a little chilly now, but I'm still dreading going back east for Christmas. You guys are going to be watching this when I am back on the East Coast. The day this goes live, I will be in New York City, freezing to death, I am sure. But I not only love it for the weather, I not only love it for the traffic, I not only love it for all the things that the city has to offer, but especially because we get to see things that many people in the country will never have a chance to see. Corey Baker, the other half of the Other Anthem podcast, said, it's weird for us to be able to say, hey, I just decided to go see this thing rather than seeing something else, when someone in like Cheyenne, Wyoming might have to drive 5, 6, 10 hours to go see the same movie if they wanted to. He's right, that is a super weird feeling. I decided to go see Honey Boy a little bit of a lark, nothing else really to see. I didn't want to see something that, the gang might have wanted to see, and they had already vocally said they did not want to see Honey Boy, but I was interested. My interest was piqued. I actually went and saw Peanut Butter Falcon earlier this year, yet another Shia LaBeouf independent movie that came out over the summer, I want to say, and it wasn't a retelling. Didn't even use it as a basis. It was a little like Tom Sawyer, where Shia is not playing Tom Sawyer. Don't guess. It's really hard to figure out who played what in that role. But I was supremely entertained by Peanut Butter Falcon. Maybe I should do a review of Peanut Butter Falcon. It's going to be coming to streaming or DVD soon. Has to be. Maybe I should. I'll give it some thought. But I was really impressed with Shia LaBeouf. We haven't seen a lot of him since Transformers, really. He tried to go a little more mainstream, maybe a little less mainstream. Do some not independent work, but definitely deeper work. Eagle Eye was amongst one of those movies, which actually I enjoyed as well. He was in Rear Window as well, I think. He did a version of Rear Window. It's funny, I really like Shia LaBeouf. I like the stuff that he puts out. Personal life's a bit of a mess, but otherwise, I really enjoy his movies. Jeez, I feel like there's got to be an anonymous group where I can go talk through these feelings. I didn't know that this was all going to come out in this episode. Nonetheless, I was really excited to say, you know what? I'll go see Shia LaBeouf. I saw Peanut Butter Falcon. It was great. Let me go see what this Honey Boy situation is about. And I went in knowing nothing about the movie. Saw in LA, there was a billboard, kid, pie on the face, Shia LaBeouf. Sure, why not? And so I went to see it. And man, was I surprised. Before we dive too deep, let's get into the pleasantries, of course. Honey Boy was written by Shia LaBeouf, also stars as one of the protagonists, James Lort. However, it was directed by Alma Harrell, and I thought for sure that he had directed it too, but maybe he is trying to get over that pretentious I need to control everything thing. She did an excellent job. As I said, Shia plays James Lort, who is apparently his father. This is a semi-autobiographical tale. He wrote about his life, even though it's not really his life. It's something very similar to his, and the lessons are very kind of the same. He's joined by two fantastic actors who play him, not him. One young, one old. Noah Jupe plays young Otis, who again is Shia LaBeouf. And Lucas Hedges plays old Otis. Byron Bowers, Laura San Giacomo, FKA Twigs, Natasha Lyonne, and a pretty strong cast are there to support them as well. Although this movie really focuses on Otis and his relationship with his father, whether that is young Otis directly being in contact with his father or older Otis dealing with the issues of his father. And again, I went into this movie kind of blind, and one thing that I didn't think I would come out with is a feeling of pity for Shia LaBeouf. And I don't know that he wanted us to feel pity for him. I don't think it's a pity thing. Not just him. I shouldn't say it's pity for him. It's pity for every kid who has gotten enraptured into this Hollywood world and didn't know what they were getting themselves into and just ruined themselves without even knowing it. I know a lot of actors. I know a lot of adult actors who would just do anything to find that big break. And just to think that there are kids who would, obviously there are kids who would do the same thing, right? They're willing to do anything. And maybe they don't know what it is they're exactly getting into. And when you're a kid, you have to depend on other people too. You need a parent there to watch out for you. It's a funny thing that there are so many child actors that the one thing that they're missing in their lives is that parent who's going to do the right thing, because they really don't, unfortunately. And none of us lived Shia LaBeouf's life, so we don't know how much of this is truly autobiographical and how much of it was a greatly fictionalized version of the truth. But it sucks. It really sucks for Otis. There's a lot of just deeply hurtful stuff that he has to go through. And yet, walking out of the theater, it wasn't Otis who I was quoting. It wasn't Otis who I put on my Instagram story, at Robert N. Cheek, if you want to follow me on Instagram, or any of your social networks, really. Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, Snapchat, it's all Robert N. Cheek. I came out of that movie quoting James, and I think that is because I identified a lot with James. Not obviously with having a kid who was a star, not having a kid who was doing kind of what I wanted to do, but dealing with a lot of pain and wanting to make it better. Everything you do just seems to make it worse. The thing I kept mulling over in my mind as I left the theater was just this one line. He says, I'm doing the best I can for the boy, but I'm in motherfucking pain. Obviously I don't have a boy. I do feel like my day to day, I am just always doing the best I possibly can for everyone around me. Sometimes I end up doing more harm than good, just because I'm in so much pain that I don't really necessarily know the best. I don't really know the best way to handle things. And a lot of times it seems like you're stumbling in the dark, and you're just trying to find your own way, figure it out in the best way you can. And we end up hurting the people around us when we do that. If you would have told me in 2006 that I'd be sitting here getting existential about a Shia LaBeouf movie, I might have punched you in the face. But here we are. So let's switch topics. Let's try to talk a little bit more specifically about the movie, which of course means spoilers are coming. So if you don't want to hear the spoilers, skip down to the next point down below. The time will be listed out right there. It'll be easy for you to find. And you'll want to do that soon, because the spoilers are coming at you right now. So off the top, what was the relationship between him and the hooker across the parking lot? Like, it was strangely matriarchal. Like, is she his mom? That's what it seems like at first, and then it gets to be semi-romantic, but then nothing happens, I think. But then something happens. Like, it was such a strange thing. And thinking about myself at 12, which apparently Otis is 12 in the story, I cannot imagine being put in that situation. But of course, Otis is a actor who sees a lot of crazy stuff and smokes. Full 2 years more before I started smoking. But it's strange to say that his relationship with this woman, who is shy and yet a hooker, and yet kind of abrasive towards him, but loving on him at the same time, that is not even the strangest relationship in the movie. Yeah, I was a divorce attorney back in Maryland before I came here, and seeing the relationship between Otis's mom and dad, been there, seen that a lot, and it's pretty typical for divorced people. It's always better when it's not. That is how that is how a lot of those situations end up. And it really sucks for the kids, and it's weird because I'm usually the one who's trying to calm the parents down and get them back on the right track. Interestingly, get to see the child's perspective in this, and I think that was something completely new. How bad he just wants his dad to be proud of him, and how much his dad will just not give him that. Because why? Because that will mean too much? Because that's not what men do? I don't know. But my heart hurts. My heart hurts for Otis, just seeing him go through so much stuff, and I'm spoiled in ways. I like to complain about my parents and my upbringing a lot because it wasn't perfect. Maybe it wasn't what I wanted it to be. It was so much better than what so many people had. Just can't imagine going through some of the things at 12 that happened in this. And again, we don't know how autobiographical it was. I've struggled with my own demons, substances, and just life in general. Never had to take that extra step. God knows I am a narcissist, but I know how to put the brakes on, and when it's appropriate to just get lost in it and not. Can't really have a lot of healthy relationships with other people. Is that upbringing, or is that something else? Who knows? To see all of those things happening to someone so young, and then how it impacts them at a later age. I don't know. This movie was deeper than you would expect. You go in and you think, hey, we're gonna have a fun time. It's not really fun, right? Not fun at all. It is interesting, and it is gripping, and you just cannot turn away, but it is heart-wrenching. Things just never get better for this kid, and that's the one thing you want. You want it to get better for him, and just doesn't get any better. It's so sad. And the pictures at the end, now I assume that they found the pictures first before they shot, and that's why the scenes match so well to the pictures. But seeing that, like, it really just struck home that so much of this must be from his real life, because he's able to say, hey, he did this thing in the movie, and here's a picture of him doing it. And then he did this thing, and here's a picture, and here's this thing, and here's a picture. Here's a short little video clip, just like all of these things coming back to reality. This is the kind of movie you hope that you can leave and it's not real, that this is a fiction, that somebody just came up with some storyteller there just said, what would be the worst thing that could possibly happen to a 12-year-old, and came up with this story. And instead, we're left with the thought that this probably happened. But I think that's enough for the spoilers. Let's get everybody back in here so we can wrap this whole thing up in a nice bow or pie to the face, or however these things are supposed to end. But nonetheless, the spoilers are going to be done, and everybody's coming back to join us right now. I will say that the one of the things I really didn't like about the movie is that it kind of caught up to present day. It got to the point where Lucas Hedges as Otis, Shia LaBeouf, but not Shia LaBeouf, goes to meet his dad and says, "Hey, Dad, I'm gonna write a screenplay about you, about us, and about our life and our exchanges." And I'm just like, okay, so like, does it need to be explained to us that the story we just saw is his real life or is based on his life? Like, I think that was a little much. We didn't really need that, right? Like, it's unnecessary, and it felt a little fake. It felt like a little cheap. It was a really emotional moment, and it kind of felt like they didn't have a way to get out of that moment. And the only way they could do that, to say that and then have his dad say exactly what you would think he would say. Don't make me look bad, honey boy. It's super weird. Honey boy, and I don't think this is a spoiler because it's in the trailers if you saw them. His dad calls him honey boy, which maybe that's a southern thing. I don't know. Like, I'm from a relatively rural area in what might be considered the South, and I have never heard that. I've heard like women, like aunts and cousins, like older cousins, call you honey or honey child, but never honey boy. That's like a weird thing. I'd be interested to know if honey boy is a thing that you've heard of before. Let me know in the comments down below, because to me that just was also a little off-putting when I realized that, like, oh, that's the nickname his dad calls him. His kind of creepy dad and his not so great dad. All of that being said, I say that the Everyman movie reviews are different, that it's about whether or not you had a good time at the movies. And yeah, I think that too often the message gets lost that having a good time at the movies doesn't mean that you're smiling and laughing the whole time. Sometimes you want some of that emotional depth. And, when I went to see it by myself. However, I think if I had gone and seen it with someone, it would have been one of those silent car rides home where you just have to kind of think about what you saw and process it a little bit. And you need those too. It's not the kind of thing you want to see all the time, but it certainly is a great departure from, what have we seen recently? Midway, Bombshell, Knives Out, any of the Superman or superhero movies that have been out recently. Like, it is something so different from all of that. And it can really be a palate cleanser. And I mean, that's great. We need those movies. And we also need, small budget movies, although this wasn't super small, still smaller budget movies that are telling an emotional story. That's kind of the stuff I write, not all of it, of course, but I do write those things. And I love to see these on film and up in the theater, because it means that maybe there's a place for something that I'm writing. Unselfishly, I just think, society as a whole needs to know that, kids coming up need to know that it's not always all right. There's not always a happy ending. It doesn't always just end perfectly. Sometimes it ends not so great. If it ends not so great, maybe it's not the ending. Maybe there's more story to tell. And I feel like after all of my contemplation on a long, silent Uber ride home, that was what I came out of it with. I identify with this line from the movie, and you have to check out the spoiler section if you want to see that. Go see it. Go check out the spoilers, you'll see the line I'm talking about. But I identify with that very strongly. But maybe if it isn't great, maybe if it isn't perfect, maybe if it isn't perfect, it's okay. But maybe if it isn't great, maybe it's not over yet. I paused there just for a second. And of course you didn't see it because I edited it out. This is a very cathartic movie. It helps you find that catharsis that maybe you can't find in your own life. But when you see the character going through it on screen, you get to come along with their catharsis and just glom on just a little bit of it and make you feel a little more human at the end of the day. And that is hard to do. And Shia and Alma really nailed it with this one. And side note, not really about the movie itself, I like adult Shia. I know I said it at the opening, but I am looking forward to whatever he has next. I don't blow it up and go do another Transformers movie, but like whatever you have in your pocket, let's pull it out. Let's see it. Let's see what we got. Because I am excited to see what you come up with next. This 2019 was an amazing year for Shia LaBeouf, Peanut Butter Falcon, and Honey Boy, and I'm just really excited to see what 2020 has. Really hoping that that we're going to see more from him down the road. But this is a short movie. It's hour 35, hour 45, something like that. Really flies by. I actually have this app called Run Pee, which kind of tells you when's the best time to leave if you need to pee, or if you need to go get a refill of a drink or whatever. And I was just glued. I could not leave. I did not want to leave. And the catharticness. Yeah. So let's go through our usual point. Who is this movie for? Everyone. You don't have to have a bad childhood. You don't have to have, drug problems or alcohol problems or be a super narcissist. Probably helps. But all that stuff doesn't have to be true. All you need to know is you need to have a little empathy. You need to look at this and see it and be able to pull in a little bit of that emotion so that when they have a little bit of a cathartic moment, you can take some of that catharsis and you'll walk out feeling, you'll probably walk out feeling glum, but after you process it a little bit, you're going to feel so much better. And doesn't always have to be happy or funny to be entertaining. And Honey Boy was entertaining. I do recommend it. The chance of you being able to see it in theaters is probably low. I am hoping that as we get closer I am hoping that as award season progresses, they might just push for a little wider distribution. You may be able to check this out in a second run theater because I feel like they're also going to be looking for some of those numbers at that price point at the second run theater. So if you have one of those near you, keep an eye out. This is just a perfect movie to see no matter what. Saturday afternoon or a date night. I think that it will start a good conversation. It'll get you thinking about yourself and your own life. And what more can we ask for from a movie for 90 minutes sitting in the dark with a bunch of strangers where we feel like friends? Definitely a thumbs up. Run out and see Honey Boy. And while you're at it, go check out Peanut Butter Falcon. And if you're not sure about that, again, let's maybe I'll work on a review. Maybe we'll see that in a couple weeks. So keep an eye out for that and a bunch of other reviews. But for now, go see Honey Boy. Well, there you have it. Yet another episode of the Everyman Movie Reviews in the books. At the top here, I want to thank my patrons. I would not be able to do this without you guys. I just went over to B&H and I got some brand new equipment, and that is all thanks to the support that I get from you. So thank you guys so very much. I can't say it enough. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And hey, do you want to be one of my patrons? Do you want to support all of the new projects that I have going on? It is super easy. Go on over to patreon.com. That's patreon.com/Robert N. Cheek. You can donate at any level, even as little as $1 a month. That gets you access, and you'll be able to catch up to everything that I am working on. They get early access to all the videos. They get access to the books. They get thank yous in the books, thank yous in the videos. Everything that I produce, I make sure and get it to them early, and I make sure to thank them during the process. So go on over to patreon.com, patreon.com/Robert N. Cheek, and become one of my supporters. Let me know that you have a vested interest in the things that I'm working on. And of course, you can find me for free on all your social networks at Robert N. Cheek. That's going to be on Instagram, Tumblr, Twitter, Snapchat, over on TikTok, where I got some new videos coming. My new favorite thing is to make memes with my nephew. You are not going to want to miss that. So at Robert N. Cheek on all your social networks. And of course, make sure you're checking out robertncheek.com. That's where you're always going to find the latest updates to what's going on, what projects I'm working on, and what I have cooking that maybe nobody else knows about. You can sign up for the email list there, and of course, directions to Patreon, directions to Oh the Anthem, directions to everything that I have going on. That'll all be located right there. Finally, you're probably watching this video on YouTube at youtube.com/Rob Cheek, but don't forget it's also available in podcast form over at anchor.fm/Everyman Movie Reviews. Now, at that link, you'll be able to find any of your sources of podcasts, where it's on Apple or Google or Pocket Cast or Dogcatcher, Stitcher, everywhere. Just go to anchor.fm/Everyman Movie Reviews and you'll be able to find your link so you can have it on your podcatcher of choice. And of course, the shows are very similar, but there are a few very key differences. So if you do want to check out the podcast, make sure you go to anchor.fm/Everyman Movie Reviews. You can throw another slash in front, put message. It'll let you leave a voicemail for me, and with your permission, I'll actually use those on the show. You'll also hear some promos that they don't hear here on YouTube, but people on YouTube, you guys will get some stuff that they don't get on Anchor. So maybe check out both, huh? How about that? But however you consume your content, I've got it for you. Podcast, video, you'll be able to find it. So thank you guys once again for joining me. Look for the next episode coming very soon. New episodes every Thursday on the dot, no matter what. And another episode sometime in the week in between. Of course, I'm also working on the next episode of Rob Explains Everything. I'm thinking the Mandela Effect. So if you don't know what that is, make sure you go over to YouTube and subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you know when I update with my latest episode. A lot of stuff going on for me, a lot of stuff going on for you. So I appreciate you taking the time to check out this episode of the Everyman Movie Reviews. So until next time, thank you guys for joining me and have a great week, everybody.